legend tells of a lost species, a link between man and beast. For centuries, he's lived in hiding, but at long last, he's reaching out and ready to be found.
It's still there. Excuse me. Hi. You can speak. Yes, and I write as well. My penmanship isn't great, but opposable thumbs and fat fingers,
Meet Mr. Link.
Like missing link.
Ah! Wait, I don't get it.
A creature of enormous stature. 8 feet tall. 650 pounds.
It's more like 630 pounds. It's the hair that makes me look heavier. I think it's a little deceptive. It can be frustrating.
He's a link to our past.
Oh,
a connection to our present.
Oh,
and a bridge to the future.
Oh. Wait a second. I said, oh, like I knew what you were talking about, but I don't.
Well, I'm on my way.
This spring,
on the other side of the world are my cousins. Can you take me there?
I know the secret ways through the mountains.
Is it hot in here?
By all means, crack open the window.
Oh, that's better.
the search for his kind
I'll bring back proof of the greatest discovery of the century.
will become an adventure of mythical proportions.
You have killed my grandmother!
Quick, quick, quick! Someone should give her the kiss of life!
You're the man for the job. How's my breath?
He is the missing link.
Throw me out of the pit.
I think you might be a little too heavy.
Nonsense. Now, give it all you've got.
Oh, it's hard to know whose fault that was. Let's do it again.
Hello, welcome to the Inspiring Movie Club. And as you watch it, we have the Missing Link movie for tonight. We are Nova Pangaea, by the way, Uriel and Carmina. And well, today's movie is very hilarious. I enjoy it so much. And this movie brings topics such as trust, identity, some values, such as friendship, family, kindness. And well, let's say hello to our friends and panelists who co-hosted at Nikita Hatangari and Tyler Rose. Hello.
How you guys doing?
Howdy. Hello.
Did you guys laugh at this movie?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this movie is one of our personal favorites for many reasons, and I think we're going to talk about it in a minute. One of them is the concept of family. And you and Nikita, we were talking about how that concept is developed among these characters. So what's your take on that one?
Yeah, I think the Link, or Susan, he just wants to find his family or his tribe, but more based on his genetics, right? And I think that Lionel, the other character, is looking for a tribe based on his ego. He just wants to have people that accept him. And so, but I think at the end, you've kind of learned that family is whoever loves you. Because neither Lionel nor Susan were accepted by the people that they wanted to be accepted by. In fact, when Susan finally goes to see the Yetis, they were really racist. They called him a redneck. And
the country cousin.
Yeah, her country cousin. And they didn't want to have anything to do with him. So I think, again, you don't have to be accepted by a certain group to belong somewhere. You belong wherever you are loved.
And you know what? Something that we were talking about it too with Tyler actually is that these kind of behaviors, I mean, especially if you're in education, you know, this is the perfect seed for violence and abusive relationships and bullying. What do you think about that, Tyler? I mean, in your opinion.
Yeah, I was just talking earlier that whenever you look at that guy that Stephen Fry played, that Lord Piggott, whatever his last name is, Dunsby, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning of this movie, I found it so funny. One of the very first things that we find out about this guy is he's very stuck in his own ways. He's very hard-headed, and once he makes a decision, nobody can really convince him of anything else. And whenever you look at his little assistant, that guy named Mr. Kolick, he flat out told him, "You're wrong," right at the very beginning. And Lord Piggott was very upset and just started saying, "You can't tell me that I'm wrong," and so forth. But even after that, you can see Mr. Kolick follow Lord Piggott Dunsby throughout the whole entire movie. He was still right there by his side, even though he knew that he was wrong at the beginning. So
I hear some panting in the background.
Yeah, walking around up here.
Okay, can we see him?
He actually just now walked back downstairs. So
how much do we need to pay her?
Yeah, I'll give him a treat for y'all.
Okay, that'll be great. Hey, Nikita, before the live session, you were talking about the names. We never thought about it. I mean, walk us through the names, the origin of the names. Why these guys are named the way they are.
So Piggott Dunsby is named. Piggott is a combination of two very negative words. The first being pig, and the second being bigot. And
yeah.
The actual Merriam-Webster definition of a bigot is a person who is obstinately or intolerantly devoted to his or her own opinions and prejudices, which is exactly who this character is. He's a bigot. He's also a pig because he's so mean.
And
although that's really mean to the animal, the pig, but that's in language we refer to nasty people as pigs, and so his name is a combination.
But what about the last name?
Dunsby. I mean, dunce it means someone who is, brainless and can't think properly. You've seen people, they'll put a dunce cap on them.
Yeah,
and
Okay.
He's not only a pig and a bigot, he's also dumb. It's a perfect name for him. And if you think of Lionel Frost, that's also a really funny name.
Frost
because Frost, he's very cold.
He's cold.
He has,
right.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't warmed up to anybody in his life because he's so cold. He just has a one-track mind himself. So I thought it was kind of cute that. And then the hitman that Piggott, hires, his name is Stank. That's so funny to me.
What does the word stank mean?
I mean, it's like stink, right?
Stink.
And if you say, sometimes people will say the word stink, like that's a stank. So stank is, just right in that whole thing. So I thought they did a very funny job of selecting names. And I didn't notice it the first time when I watched the movie. The second time, that's when I noticed it, and then I couldn't stop laughing through the whole film because all I could see was.
Well, we watched it 3 times and we never thought about it. Hey, Tyler, did you remember you said something about the name? Now that we're talking about names, what about the name of Mr. Link to name this creature? I mean, did you say something really interesting?
Yeah, no, I found it interesting. Going back on the principle of who these people are. I know Nikita earlier was talking about neither Susan or Lionel really felt accepted with who they wanted to be accepted by. But they ended up finding that through each other. I thought that was really beautiful. But part of the reason why Lionel it was so hard for him to find anybody to fit in is because this guy was so self-centered. He was really in for it all just for his own self-gratitude. Like there wasn't any other reason behind it. He just wanted to make himself look better. And from the very beginning, that whole entire Loch Ness monster chase, he put some of his friends at pretty great risk. And later on, whenever he finally met Mr. Link in the very beginning, that's the name he gave him, Mr. Link. Like that's kind of silly. Imagine being named Mr. and Mrs. Human. It's kind of like, okay, whatever. It's not a real name. But later on in the movie, he mentions he's only in it for his own gratification as they were getting on that ship. And then he finally had that change of heart the minute that Adelina talked to him. And he went over and talked to Mr. Link. And eventually Mr. Link said that he wanted to be called Susan, just because of, the whole entire story about that smile. And finally, Lionel walked away and said, "Goodbye, Susan." So it was nice to see that change of heart happen from Lionel Frost.
And, just a little technical parenthesis over here. When they shot that scene when Mr. Link called, he says, Susan, it was a woman.
Yeah.
It was a girl who actually did the expression of the face. So they used the silhouette, the expressions of this woman. It was a young girl, when she called herself Susan. So that was not a guy, actually. It was actually a girl, behind Mr. Link. So that's to me, that means not only the ability to have the humans we have to emulate happiness through the simplest expressions, which is a smile. Something that it was so captivating by this creature that everybody thought it was just ugly, a monster, right? And that's what he remembers. That's what that he remembers. That person touched his nipple. You remember?
It's hard.
That's another. That was an inside joke.
The communication.
What I want to go with this is that Mr. Link was so literal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and Nikita, you also mentioned about the cracking window. You want to talk about it?
Yeah. I thought that was funny because human beings, we say so much of what we don't mean. Mm-hmm. And because he's literal, that when Lionel tells him in the train, hey, because it's so hot, why don't you crack open the window? And he actually punches the window, and now he's cracked it. And there's so many instances throughout the movie where you can see that he's very literal, and he doesn't understand.
The word. I'll give you my word. Okay, what is it?
Which one?
The word. And then finally, Mr. Frost, he says, trust.
Mm.
I mean, I think that the movie was sprinkled with this innocence, naive. I don't get what humans are talking. Even at this point of the movie, Mr. Link said, "Well, wait. I think I said oh, like I know what you're saying, but definitely no, I don't know what you said." So he was in between. I think trying to fit in within the group, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, at the end, I think that Mr. Link was more evolved than human beings, because I think the resistance that Mr. Bigot, I said Bigot, sorry.
It's okay, it works.
You noticed that, right? Okay.
That's what it is.
It was a resistance to change, to the new thinkers, to the evolution per se. But they were
electricity, he even mentioned
electricity. But they were not thinking about this adaptation of Mr. Link, that he said, well, how did I learn to talk, I mean to speak? By paying attention, by listening, by playing chess, because he was a shaman, taught me how to play chess, and right?
Yeah.
So that was evolution also. He got along with humans, but also he wanted to get along with his own kind. And most of all, I mean, he was looking for identity, not only for acceptance, just for because I belong to them. It's because, I'm lonely. I want a family, right?
And I also think that he knew that by reading, as you remember when Sir Frost go to his cave, the first thing that I saw that I was really, really, oh wow, this guy really reads, it was books. And he said, I stole books, people gave me these books, whatever. And I really think that the important thing that Mr. Link discovered he was trying to communicate better with humans. And the best way to do it was actually by understanding that he needed to talk. He had the need to write. And he did. So at that point, I think I agree. He was just more evolved than humans that reject, the basics of communication. The last time Taylor, you said something really interesting when you want to talk to someone about different points of views. It's easier if you place a thought, through the point of view of the other part.
Yeah.
So communication is really important, and I think Mr. Link gave us a good, example of that.
Yeah, you have to place yourself in his shoes, right? Or he doesn't have shoes, but you get the point. You gotta see where he's coming from. Here's this guy this somewhere in between, not quite guy yet, but he's like, that Link, right? And he's the only one left of his kind. And everybody around him is more or less afraid of him. So how can he talk? And more importantly, not only is he trying to figure out where he's trying to fit in, but he's trying to figure out who he is himself.
Exactly.
And he doesn't even have a name until he comes up with that Susan story. But even that first name, Mr. Link, whenever he got it, he was so proud of it. He is like almost like that first name. So it's really great to see his story come along and finding himself, but also finding a hopeful family later on, a partner in crime for sure.
Yeah.
Another scene that I really like, not only because of the complexity of the scene. I found that the scene of the bar has more shots than any sequence even produced in stop motion. And Nikita will start talking more about the making of, which we can talk for days. The movie took years to do it. So, but what I really like about it, when you see all the characterization of Mr. Link in the fight, he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't. It's not like he never been in a fight. First of all, it's like me. My first fight is like, should I punch this guy? And then he goes like, obviously the guy is his size. Just by doing this, he can make a guy fly.
Yeah.
But the only way he actually become an animal is when he, goes down and growls at the dog. But that was the only aggressive part of it in that sequence. Other than that, humans, they were just acting like some of them act nowadays. They make a point through violence. They make a point by yelling in guns. Violence. That's a bullying. That's how humans act. And I think in that scene, the more civilized character in that room, in my opinion, was Mr. Link. Because he didn't want to fight. He wanted to even have a little conversation. Even when the other guy, Stink, was approaching Sir Frost, he goes like, "Hey, here's this guy. What are you gonna do?" So that's something that I really like. Carmina, you want to?
Actually, he growls to the to the dog because he's
growls.
Like, "Rawr." Okay, so so everybody is in silence over there. It's like. Okay, but then suddenly they realize like, okay, we were fighting, yeah. So, but the instinct is I'm going to quiet everybody. But for instance, the dog, because they communicate that not way. By fighting, just by this expression. This sound.
Now, the other thing that you were talking about, Nikita, is family. What happens when they go all the way on this journey? And he meets his family. It's a nasty one, but what happened there?
They don't accept him. And they tell him that you're the redneck cousin.
The country cousin.
The country cousin. They at one point they do call him a redneck. They don't accept him. They don't want to have anything to do with him. And he's come all this way and gone through so many, unhappy adventures with Mr. Stank after them. And they don't even want him. And I think that was really sad. But I think that is a part of life where many times we want to be accepted by people and we're not. So, again, your family is whoever loves you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, can I pop in real quick? I actually just now realized as we were sitting down and talking about this, on one hand, you had Susan, who just wasn't accepted by his family, but then look at Lionel. He was trying so hard to be accepted by Sir Pigott Dunsby, right? And he's trying so hard, and once he finally had this the Susan, the Sasquatch that he was looking for, he still wasn't accepted, and because Sir Pigott made that claim in the beginning, thinking that the Sasquatch is just a myth. So that was a huge letdown, I bet, for Lionel. Working so hard to prove his worth, and then once he is able to, it just got thrown away. So I just found that interesting too. But going back on what Nikita just said, yeah, that sense of family is definitely who you choose and not who you're stuck with, for sure.
Well,
Right.
one of
I agree,
the
Tyler.
characters that I really liked about was Adelina. She was, at the beginning, I thought in the film that she was be portrayed as the typical, which kind of give you that idea, the typical
It's like
Latina.
Adelita.
Adelina.
Yeah, but it's kind of like Adelita.
It's kind of Adelita. Yeah, you're right. See,
Yeah.
now she's speaking on the names. You started it
Yeah.
all, Nikita. Because Adelita, it's
Revolutionary
it's a revolutionary
women.
Women. Who actually, yeah, in during the Mexican Revolution,
They used to carry
this how do you call it, with the bullets.
the bullets in here. I don't know if you have seen that
Yes,
stereotype. Let's say,
and they
yeah.
were really respectable, and nobody messed with them because they really, carry out, they were actually on the line of duty. You were fighting during the revolution.
They fighters.
So yeah, you're right. That kind of, that kind of gives a little bit of a
And they fight for independence. They fight for their freedom.
independence. That's right.
Yeah.
Which is in her case, when even Sir Frost said, "Okay, look at the bird." I mean, and she even said, "I'm going to look for, for my own adventure."
Yeah.
My own, she escaped from the cage that she was living in.
Yeah, that was really great.
What is the other thing that you want to talk about, Carmina? Identity.
Well, yeah, we talk about that, but we have pretty much this polarity with the resistance and the adaptation, right? And I we already talked about that, I guess. There was another topic here. Well, for sure, the friendship, that's another value. And I think that's it. I mean, one of my best part is precisely when Mr. Frost has this statement, and it says, "Well, I have evolved."
Oh, at the end?
Because at the end, yeah, I have evolved, and now I rather think the world shapes us, because, I mean, now he adapted. Now he.
Let me go back a little bit, because I think the scene is tied to the pit of. What was the name of the pit?
Oh gosh,
That was
like
The pit.
suffering and whatever else it was.
of the deception
Isolation.
of the
Yeah.
eternity, the deception or whatever that
Yeah.
is. And I think in life, before you come up with with the sense, the meaning in your life, sometimes you got to go to the bottom. Sometimes life even takes you down there for you to find out who you are. And sometimes you're alone. Sometimes you're with someone, and unfortunately, sometimes you drag people in that hole, in that pit. in order to walk out of that pit, you need help from friends. And that's one of the things that we got inspired by this movie. So we perform a song that is related to this idea of friendship. But what Carmina was saying is after that realization, after going through the process of trying to escape, there's a line that is really upsetting, when Sir Bigot, whatever you want to call it now, he's actually confronting Sir Frost and say, okay, so you're here, look at you, you're with an ape, meaning something that, someone who never evolved, a thing,
yeah,
and a woman. I mean, so two things that are worth nothing, pretty much. To me, that's what I got from this guy. He was cold, angry, and said, look what you have as friends, And then at that point, what something really I loved is when Sir Freud, he walks out and step up and said, no, but this thing is, is my friend. And to me, that was to your point.
That thing is my friend. It's more than a man. That's my friend.
And I evolved. I think that was one of the crucial parts to me in the movie, because evolution, we understand evolution as this complexity of actions, and changes, and some of them, they're painful and everything. But at that point, evolving as a human being, it's just courage. It's just accepting who you are and valuing, the things that really had a meaning. So to me, that was really important in the movie and into my life. How many times you have to go down to the pit and kind of rethink, see how you're behaving, how you're doing, how you're treating other people, how you're treating yourself. And the only way to do it is family and family. The quote that you gave us, Nikita, which we included in the video that you're going to see, I think that nails it. I mean, it's just family is not only the blood, but it's whoever is there with you to respect you and guide you. And I think the writer is he wrote a book that we read a long time ago, Juan Salvador Gaviota. That was in Spanish though. I don't know. I don't even know the name of the book in English. But that's an American writer, right?
Yeah.
The writer. I mean, I know who the screenplay.
No, I'm talking about the quote that you sent us.
Oh, the quote. Yeah. Yeah, that's an American writer.
Yeah.
He I do think it's really interesting that you brought up evolution, because that he's evolved. But if you look at the theory of evolution, right? This Sasquatch is what we think is the missing link in the theory of evolution. But when Lionel evolves as a human being, he becomes more like Susan, right?
Exactly.
So human beings evolve. I mean, we may have evolved. Maybe we are at a higher rank in the theory of evolution, in that our brains are more developed and all. But really, if you're thinking about the evolution of your character, now that he has evolved, he's actually more like the Link,
Exactly.
like who
Simple.
in that theory of evolution is kind of behind, but actually no. So there are two different evolutions. One with the body evolving, and one with your
spirit.
Your spirit evolving. Yeah. So I thought that was just really beautiful to see.
And one of the things that now you brought it up too, Nikita, is I think Mr. Link had the opportunity to live among nature.
Yes.
And that's one of the difference between humans, that the more evolved we are, now we're looking in the stars and see, like this guy.
Yes.
And instead of looking down here and see all the beauty that we have, that somehow we're destroying, is being destroyed, and I don't know, we haven't found another planet with so much richness, so much green and blue and water and life, and Mr. Link was bonded with, attached to Earth. I mean, he listened to Earth. I mean, even the way he smells the flowers, he walks.
He interacts with
nature.
Everything.
In a way that evolved civilizations, we don't.
He's much more evolved than we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
sadly.
he looks to communicate with everyone. That's something that, yeah, I notice all the time. He used to imitate the expressions of other people.
Yeah,
So
that's
he could be empathetic or maybe, yeah, to communicate with the other person or with the cow
Or
or
the
with
horse.
the horse or, yeah, he was
Hey, I
with
barely
the
have you.
dog.
Carmina, yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I really enjoy watching, because we watched the film 3 times, and we're about to watch it the 4th time,
We still don't know the names of the
and we still
characters.
don't remember the names. And this is gonna bring probably to the end of the session. We were hoping other panelists to join us. Cynthia.
Wait, you wanna talk about the making of the film?
Yes, let's just talk about
That
that,
would be
the
great.
making of. But before that, let's just talk about Adelina for a moment to close it, because that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And something we were just talking about is, you know, as typically you see it in novelas, you know, where, and even in Hollywood, when there's a hero and there's a shiro, or is this poor woman, you know, who has to follow this guy who rescued her in a way, so she falls in love with him again. And at that point, I was like, oh no, please don't. But that would be kind of nice. But it's so cliche. And when she said, "Sorry guys,"
Predictable.
yeah, so very predictable. And you say, well, you know, that's it. I'm gonna go find my own journey.
Yeah.
I think that was really nice and clever. I think it was like, oh
That
wow,
was.
that was different.
Yes.
And then she said something different, right, Nikita? What did she say?
She said that yes, you are Lionel the Great or something, but I need something better.
Yeah,
I'm going on my own.
But at least he gave him the second chance to show proof, all right?
Yeah, and that's what she was looking. I mean, the proof.
Yeah.
I mean, and that brings me to another point. In science, you know, you're always looking for a proof. I mean, that's what science is all about. You know, you look through your hypothesis. You know, you develop your theories, and if you're able to prove, you know, through I don't know, mathematics, physics, and everything, then you have actually a fact. And at this point, when you're talking about actions, I mean, how much can you? I'm a human being. How much do you need as a proof? At the end of the day, is your actions. And that's what, in that little sentence, that's what I got. You know, you can say anything you want, but you don't change the world with your words. You change the world through your actions. And that's what she needed. That's how exactly he proved to, not only to her, but to himself, that he can be a nice human being.
Yeah. But honestly, I honestly don't think that she meant it in the way that like we take like at the surface level, how she says, I need something more, I need something greater. Because right after she said that, she immediately talked about she needed to find her own adventure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you put those two together, I feel like she's valuing herself over a relationship.
Yes.
So whenever you put it that way, it's really interesting. I mean, here was this great, I mean, she has this great adventure spirit. Her ex-husband, right, was Lionel's best friend at the time, and some accident happened with him. And now she's kind of in that mourning phase before Lionel came and drug her along with this adventure. So I feel like between those two things, her valuing herself over being tied down with, you know, another partner or something like that, she just wanted time on her own. So
That's a good point.
And you know it's not the end either, because the way she said it, and she even winked whenever she said it. So you know that it's just the beginning of something even more beautiful, right? So I feel like there's more to that story.
Wow, I didn't even
That's
know
always
about that.
great to have that kind of a cliffhanger, right? Because then you can do part 2, the missing link.
Yeah.
But maybe I hope so.
Maybe.
And if they do, I hope it's a good one. Now, speaking about it, we're going to go into details of the production value. One of the things that we saw in production, Nikita, was I think this movie was valued at $100 million, but they barely make only
30 million, something like that.
$30 million. So, what is your take on that one? Because I mean, it's just a lot of details, a lot of labor, a lot of work. How can you just explain?
It's handmade.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for people to know how it was made too, and that when people don't, they just think it's another animation. So, but I think from what I read is that the movie opened with some other very big films on the same night, and so they did.
And it was 2019. So it was that was before the pandemic, before the lockdown. That was the last film that we actually saw on the theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we went to see it on the theater, and then we saw it here, through the platforms. But when we went there, the movie was, I mean, the theater was not really that
crowded,
full
no.
or crowded.
No.
But yeah, the movie was great. How many years do you think it take for a movie like this to be developed, to be created?
Gosh, I actually don't know, but I know how they made it. So, it's really complicated, but I think it's very different than other animations. But I don't know how long it took to make it.
I guess it took, years, right?
Of course.
At least 1 year. I think it was...
No, 1 year was one scene. I mean, there were scenes.
The elephant.
The
elephant.
Just 1 year, just one scene. I mean, I think the elephant, when they're walking on with the elephant, I think that took about 3-4 months, just that scene. And there were 66.
Yeah, I just Googled it. I just Googled it for the funds of it, and it said 100 weeks for just filming. Yeah.
Just filming.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, if that's just filming, then it took even more time to actually make those things, because this is not animation, it's puppetry.
Mm-hmm.
So,
exactly. Mechanical.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think they used a hybrid technique. Where
it's called stop motion technology.
With, computer animation.
Yes, they did.
And also they introduced these 3D printing for the faces.
Yes. So what they do is they create these silicone puppets, and they use 3D printers. So it's like when we print something on a printer, right? We get 2 dimensions. This, when you print something, so first you have to design it, and then you use a 3D printer, and it actually creates something in 3D. So previously, when they used to make these kind of puppets, they were just printed white. And so then you would have to go back and paint them, which can be very, very tedious. But now, the printers are colored, and they have, for every cubic millimeter, you can put in 18 million colors.
Wow.
I mean, I don't even know how to fathom that, and so they create these puppets, and the skin is urethane so that it looks very natural. And then they put robots inside, and you handle it electronically. And they said that each movement works through 97 different stages. But then, you can shoot them just like you do with people. And then you can add stock footage, or you can do graphics in the background. And with this technology, what they're saying is that the characters can have more facial expressions. So, like Carmina, you are talking about his facial expressions.
Yes.
You get more facial expressions than in regular animation. Wow. And what's so cool is you can remove the faces from the body. Then you can switch around the expressions and put it back.
Wow.
So that is so neat. And then, so every single thing that the puppets do, they film that, and then they add VFX or graphics for things like smoke and steam. And they had 20,000 square feet of studio space. Yeah. And they created 60 locations in that space. So this film was nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards. It didn't win, but it did win Best Animated Feature at the Golden Globe. So even if they didn't even if they didn't make money at the box office, but they definitely got the accolades and the respect.
And this is one of the reasons why with this panel, we like to, in a way, tell these. In this case, was LAIKA, the production company. Tell these platforms like Netflix and Amazon, these other platforms, Hulu. I mean, we want to see these kind of movies. I mean, we're investing our money. I mean, we went to see it at the theater. Now we rent it twice, probably like a year ago and this year. I mean, just a week ago again. You guys probably did the same thing. And some of the friends that they actually told us that they're watching the film too. They invested time and money on watching this film. So in a way, by doing these kind of the panels, we're telling the producers and we're telling these platforms, hey, we really value, there's a market for these type of films. I mean, yes, I mean, some films, I mean, in your case, Tyler, maybe it was not as exciting as the other movies and stuff. And it's great, but I mean, in a way, it's, I mean, the consumer has the power to buy or not to buy, to consume, right? And I think by doing this, it's just telling these people, just continue writing this thing. I mean, maybe the next movie will be better. I just think that I feel so bad that these guys lost money on this project. I mean, we've lost money in some of the projects that we have, but not as much as these guys. I mean, I don't know.
Well, but I mean, the art, the work that goes into this, it's phenomenal. Just I mean, what we're seeing on screen now, how they create this forest, and it is just unbelievable.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
And another note, we were also watching a YouTube video there, and the process that takes nine months to develop a puppet. 9 months, I mean, full puppet, and then it goes through the process with the directors, the creator, the painters, and all these details. So after a scene is done, it has to be approved with other people involved. So it's not a final take. I mean, let's say that scene right there, if it's not approved by graphics, by the graphic department, because they require a different kind of lighting or different kind of interaction with other characters, they need to go back and reshoot the whole thing. So,
I know, it's incredible. I mean, this video that is screening it's amazing.
Yeah, all those faces.
Yeah, those expressions that you were talking about.
Yeah, so if you want to change the expression, you remove the face and you add the other face.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And the way they describe how to move the eyes, do you know how they move the eyes?
No, I don't. But isn't it electronically?
No, that's what we thought. The way they do it is actually they get an X-Acto knife, they poke into the ball of the eye, and they moved it. And then they open the lids.
Oh my God.
you can't mean a nail. It's a handmade film.
Yeah.
They can make a museum out of this.
Of course.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, they should.
I would purchase a ticket and take my whole family to see how this is done.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm your family, remember?
Oh, yeah.
and Taylor is her brother, so it's like her son, actually.
My brother. My brother. And
so you stuck with us, Nikita. Hey, they're built the boat in there. That's one of the things that actually require more graphics when they actually combine the stop motion technique with the water. I mean, how to pull all those two elements together. I mean, so much work into that. Right now actually they're building the city, I guess. One of the cities.
Yeah, that is just incredible. I can see Disney World opening up another theme park with, see how stop motion animation is done and just have people walking through that.
Yeah.
And you know what? Another thing that we found out is that stop motion back in the 80s was pretty much dead. I mean, it was a technique that almost disappeared in this movie by Tim Burton, Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't know if it was in the 80s. Yeah, I think it was in the 80s. They kind of resuscitate the technique and everything. And the way they did it is they painted every single hand, every single face by hand. So what these guys did now is they use the 3D printing to achieve more accuracy on the expressions, but also to make it easier in a way. So they paint thousands, I think more than 60,000 or 100,000 faces for the film.
Yeah, so this one's easier because when you print it, it just comes out colored, and I wouldn't be surprised if they later can even create different kinds of textures or like glossy or matte finishes, so that because that's something that you have to do afterwards, but you won't have to then.
Now, another thing that really strikes me as a masterpiece too is the actors, the voiceovers. I mean, usually when you direct actors, whether you're on a film or you're shooting a commercial, you have the reference of something. Mm-hmm. In this case, yes, some of them, they have the animatics, which is a little cartoon, with drawings and everything, but sometimes they don't. So they have to keep, the direction has to be really, really direct and well developed. So the actors here, or the actresses, they have to understand the character well enough to be consistent throughout the 1 hour and a half dialogues. And it's a lot of work, not only on the technical part of the animation, but also on the acting. Mm-hmm. The voiceover to me is clever. I mean, you don't hear the audio here, but they actually give 3 or 4 takes, and they work with those 4 takes, and they send it back to animation to get to see how this creature or this character will express it through their face expressions. And if they don't like it, again, they have to go back and get the voice, and they get another couple of takes. So I think this gives you a better understanding of how much work is it needs to be done to create something like this.
Well, in film production, they will tell you that even more important than a video is the audio. People really respond to sound even more than picture.
Oh, wow.
So your sound has to be immaculately done, and voices are so important because, like you said, you're bringing that character to life through voice. Mm-hmm. So because now that character has a personality because of their voice and the different intonations. And also I'm sure they probably give them like pictures of what these characters look like, and then they kind of have to create, am I going to have to use a huskier voice, or am I going to have to use a high-pitched voice? Or
yeah, that's so important, such as music too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the music is another topic that I really enjoyed how it's developed what I see is that pretty much they developed three themes throughout the film. I mean, the beginning was the exploration of the characters, and then you can hear the Mr. Link theme throughout the film. Even at the end, it just changed. The orchestration changed a little bit, depending of the dramatization of the situation. So, and again, that's something that you see on post, but that there's a lot of work in there. I think, but once you get the final take, or at least your final cut, close as final, that's when it goes back to the producers and the filmmakers to actually put the music into the final take.
Oh.
Anything else, Nikita, you want to add to the production before we move to the song?
No, I just think it's really incredible, and I hope for people who haven't seen the movie, they should watch the movie, and I hope they will watch the videos on the making of the film, because I think you're going to love it even more and I would watch the making of the film before watching the film.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I think
All right, we'll stay there. We'll make you see one of our songs.
Yay!
And we'll talk about that making up later. But okay, so this song is a very famous song by the Beatles. Although we learned, the version that I really like the best is Joe Cocker's version of it, and now we create our new version of this. Pretty much this song by the Beatles called "With a Little Help from My Friends."
Yeah, our acoustic
version. Here we go.
What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I sing you a song, and I try not to sing out of key. Gonna get by with a little help from my friends. Just keep trying with a little help from my friends. When I get high with a little help from my friends. What do I do when my love is so wet? Does it worry you to be alone? How do I feel by the end of the day? Are you sad because you're on your own? I'm gonna get by with a little help from my friends. I just keep trying with a little help from my friends. When I get high with a little help from my friends. Do you need anybody? I need somebody to love. Could it be anybody? All I need is someone to love. I'm gonna get by with a little help from my friends. Just keep trying with a little help from my friends. When I get high with a little help from my friends. Do you need anybody? I need somebody to love. Could it be anybody? All I need is someone to love.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Good, great job.
So appropriate.
That's what we
Thank you.
thought, and it's and thank you for the quote, Nikita. That was
Yes.
a perfect.
Perfect
Quote.
and perfect match.
And we also want to dedicate this song to you guys, because as friends, we've never been able to do this without you.
Yeah, thank
And,
you for your support.
And our friends that are actually watching the shows, the ones that are actually, showing up right now. We understand that it's kind of late, but it's all right. We love you guys.
I just want to say thank you to Estrellita. Estrellita, muchas gracias por vernos. Colegio Vasconcelos también. So for next week, actually, we're
That's
going
Sandy
to
as well.
We're going to have a special guest too.
Yeah, well, should we say it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right, so we'll say it. The next movie. It's about a kid who tamed the wind for the you know which one we're talking about.
Oh, I love that movie.
Okay, well, I don't know if Nikita knows a bit. I'm sure you're gonna love that, Nikita. Anyway, so I'm sorry. Say that again.
No, I said I can't wait to watch it.
No, you've seen it, right, Taylor? Tyler?
Yes, yeah.
Well, can you give us a little bit of an intro on that one? Do you like it?
Honestly, isn't that the one that was set in Africa, right? Yeah, okay, so it's been a while, but I think you guys should probably talk about it.
Yeah,
I may have forgotten quite a few things.
Well, that's
We're gonna have a special little panelist, and I say, but from Mexico, we are expecting that. I mean, she's very very intelligent girl.
Well, she's considered a genius.
She's a
girl.
genius.
She's been accepted by NASA, by one of them.
Wow.
Yeah, and she actually worked through. She's actually developing a research for COVID.
But that's
and also, well, because her little sister has, I think she's deaf, so she's developing this app with sign language. So she's a genius, actually. I mean, she's
Estrella. That's her name.
Estrella. So she's going to be joining us next week at our panel. We're really excited about it. We have a meeting with her family tomorrow, so we're going to talk about it.
They're excited about.
She already said yes, so she's going to be here. And we also want to thank Colegio Vasconcelos.
Muchas gracias, Colegio
Priscilla and our friend Luisa as well, because I mean they were the ones who actually contacted us to introduce her.
Sandy, thank you very much for joining us. She says that she's here a little bit late, but she's here.
Hey,
Great.
Sandy, well, you can watch the rerun. It was pretty cool.
Sebastián, muchas gracias. Saludos también. Espero que hayan disfrutado este cineclub del día de hoy.
And well, that's the new for next show. So it's going to be really interesting. We're really excited to bring Estrella to the panel next week and see
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, she's actually only 16 years old.
Oh my goodness.
But she pretty much finished college, pretty much. So she's actually looking for higher education right now.
This is Rosa María Matapeña says in Spanish. Qué bello mensaje del cine y musical. Gracias a todos los invitados que han compartido. Nikita Hatangari y Tyler Ross. Did you understand?
Oh, yeah.
What a beautiful message from the movie and the musical. Thank you to the guests that you have shared with us, and Nikita Hatangari and Tyler Ross. Thank you.
Oh, sweet.
And
Thank you, Rosa.
And I think you probably met her, Nikita, because she's actually
from LaSalle University.
From LaSalle University.
Yeah, we're connected. Muchas gracias, Rosa.
So, and by the way, we're coming back to the ULSA, so we're going to have a show at the inauguration of the book fair in next month as well. So we have big plans now. We're going to get more active. But I think that closes for today. Any final words? Any final comments on you guys?
No.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We always enjoy our conversations with you.
Same here.
Guys, thank you.
Absolutely.
And see you next week.
See you next week, same time.
Yes.
All right.
guys.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Bye.
good night.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good one, y'all.
Bye-bye.
I'll show him. Here, I'm still here.